Imagine walking deep into a tropical forest where the air is thick with humidity, and the light barely breaks through the dense canopy. All around you, giant leaves sway silently, vines curl like serpents, and every shadow seems alive. Suddenly, you notice something strange. A plant, standing still yet giving the unsettling impression that it is watching you. Not with eyes, but with a mouth wide open, waiting. It looks beautiful and deadly, as if it had been designed not just to survive, but to hunt. For centuries, explorers, scientists, and storytellers have whispered about plants that can devour flesh. Some are legends, others are very real. And today, we are going to dive into the world of plants that eat, plants that blur the line between the calm, passive world of greenery, and the ruthless domain of predators. Carnivorous plants exist because nature can be unforgiving. In many swamps, bogs, and tropical soils, nutrients are scarce, and the water is acidic. Most plants wither in such hostile environments. But millions of years ago, some found another way. Instead of relying only on the soil, they began to harvest nutrients from living creatures. Slowly, evolution sharpened them into silent hunters, equipping them with traps, chemicals, and strategies as efficient as the jaws of animals. These plants don't chase their prey, but they lure, trap, and digest it with a patience that feels almost sinister. They are proof that survival can lead life into truly bizarre directions. The Venus flytrap is perhaps the most famous. It looks like a pair of jaws, with green and red leaves lined with spiky teeth. Inside, delicate trigger hairs wait for movement. If an insect touches them twice in less than 20 seconds, the trap snaps shut in a fraction of a second. The victim is sealed inside, struggling in vain as the plant releases digestive enzymes to dissolve it alive. Over days, the flytrap absorbs everything useful, leaving behind a hollow exoskeleton. To us, it might seem like a small curiosity, but in reality, the Venus flytrap is only the beginning, a tiny hint of how far carnivorous plants can go. In the rainforests of Borneo, Sumatra, and the Philippines, some plants take this idea to terrifying extremes. They are called nepenthes, also known as pitcher plants. Their leaves morph into hanging cups or tubes, often painted in vivid colors, deep reds, yellows, and purples. These cups are beautiful, but they are also deadly. Around the rim, the plant secretes sweet nectar. Insects, frogs, lizards, and even small mammals crawl toward it, tempted by the sugary liquid. But the rim is slippery like glass. Once they lose their footing, they slide into the pitcher's chamber, where a pool of digestive liquid awaits. Inside, enzymes and bacteria go to work, breaking down flesh into a nutrient soup. Some nepenthes species are so enormous that their pitchers can hold up to 2 liters of fluid, enough to drown a rat, a bird, or even a bat. Scientists have found remains of small animals floating inside these chambers, their bodies dissolving slowly. Imagine leaning over one of these giant pitchers, only to realize something alive is writhing within, powerless in its green prison. It is the stuff of nightmares. Not all carnivorous plants are so dramatic in size, but some are just as fascinating in design. The sundews, or Drosera, are deceptively delicate. Their leaves glisten with droplets of what looks like morning dew. But this is no water, it is sticky nectar. To an unsuspecting insect, it looks like a safe landing spot. The moment it lands, its legs are glued to the surface. Then, in a slow and eerie movement, the plant's tiny red tentacles bend inward, curling around the trapped victim like the arms of an octopus. The insect is held tighter and tighter as digestive juices flow, and over several days the sundew consumes it completely. If you touched one with your finger, you'd only feel a sticky surface. But imagine being the size of a gnat. You'd be trapped, slowly smothered, digested alive. Even stranger are the bladderworts, or utricularia. These are aquatic carnivorous plants that use one of the fastest traps in the natural world. They have tiny underwater bladders, each like a transparent pouch with a door. The moment a microscopic creature swims past, the bladder snaps open and sucks it inside in less than a millisecond. The victim has no chance to escape. Inside, it is broken down and absorbed. Though invisible to the naked eye, this system is astonishing. Engineers study bladderworts because their suction mechanism is faster and more precise than many human-made machines. It is a reminder that even the tiniest plants can be deadly hunters. Legends about flesh-eating plants have haunted human imagination for centuries. In the 19th century, explorers returning from Madagascar and South America told stories of a terrifying tree called the Yatvio, or ICU. According to the tales, it had long, spiny tendrils that moved like serpents. Anyone who wandered too close would be grabbed, squeezed, and slowly drained of life. Victims, the stories claimed, were wrapped and absorbed as the plant fed. No scientific evidence has ever confirmed such a monster exists, but the tales were so vivid that newspapers published them as fact. The myth of the man-eating tree spread across Europe, cementing itself in folklore. Today, botanists dismiss it as fantasy, yet the story continues to unsettle, because deep down we can't shake the fear. What if there really was a plant big enough to devour us? There is also the bizarre Rafflesia arnoldii, known as the corpse flower. This isn't a carnivore in the strict sense, but it is one of the most unsettling plants on Earth. It produces the largest single flower known, spanning over a meter across and weighing more than 20 pounds. Its petals are thick, leathery, and red with pale blotches, resembling decaying flesh. But the most horrifying feature is its smell. The Rafflesia stinks of rotting meat, so much so that people can smell it from hundreds of feet away. The odor attracts flies and carrion beetles, which crawl across the flower, carrying its pollen. It does not consume the insects, but the deception is chilling. A plant that tricks animals by imitating death itself. Early travelers swore it could trap birds and small mammals in its petals, but those were exaggerations born from fear. Still, standing before a giant flower that reeks of corpses is enough to make anyone uneasy. This brings us to the inevitable question: could there ever be a plant capable of eating a human? The answer, according to science, is no, not yet. Plants lack muscles to grab and jaws to chew. Their traps are ingenious, but they work on creatures that are small enough to be overwhelmed by glue, suction, or slippery walls. A human being is simply too big and too strong. Still, the fact that some nepenthes can digest animals the size of rats and birds is already remarkable. The natural world often surprises us, and evolution has a way of finding strange solutions. While no plant today could consume you, the very idea lingers, and it is terrifying enough to inspire legends and horror stories. Our fascination with these plants is not just biological, but psychological. We think of plants as passive, harmless, and peaceful. They are food, decoration, the background of life. But carnivorous plants turn that idea upside down. They are predators. They hunt. They kill. They are green, silent, and patient assassins, hiding in plain sight. And that inversion, the prey becoming the hunter, strikes something deep in our imagination. It makes us question whether nature is really as gentle as we want to believe. Watch a Venus flytrap snap shut and you feel both awe and fear. Peer into a nepenthes picture and you imagine yourself sliding down its slick walls into a pool of acid. Hear about the Yatvio tree, and even knowing it is a myth, part of you wonders, what if? That tension between reality and legend is what keeps these plants so captivating. They remind us that the natural world is not always safe, that even the greenest and most beautiful creatures can hide a darker side. So the next time you see a carnivorous plant, take a closer look. Behind its beauty lies a deadly secret. A sundew's sparkling droplets are not water, but glue. A pitcher plant's nectar is not a gift, but bait. And a corpse flower's stench is not decay, but deception. They are masters of disguise, hunters that never move yet always win. They may not be able to eat you, but they can eat far more than you would ever expect. In their silent way, they remind us of one truth: nature is always hungry. And in its hunger, it creates monsters that are stranger and more fascinating than anything we could ever imagine.